I've never more wanted to be able to introduce myself as a doctor, but sadly I'm not, so we'll move quickly on. So I'm here to talk to you about digital HR, but actually how you can use technology to create a happier and more productive workforce. So just a little bit about me to start. So I'm Helen Armstrong, I'm the CEO and founder of SilverCloud. We're in our 10th year of working with HR teams and businesses to digitise their HR departments, which 10 years ago was very much, I need a payroll system, please help me. Now it's a complete overhaul of employee experiences, so we're not just implementing discrete bits of technology, we're looking at the whole user experience from an employee point of view and how you can get the best out of your employees through your people processes. So I'm just going to set the scene a little bit about the life of our employees and our HR teams and our office managers before they come into the workplace. So they're doing their banking online. They might have been on the train checking their bank account on the way in. They're socialising online through Facebook and Instagram and whatever else they want to use these days. They're listening to their music online. They're downloading it. It's on demand. They don't have to wait for the radio tunes to come on anymore. They're watching TV on demand, and they can watch it, series back to back. They don't need to wait for it to come on our TV screens. They're checking their journeys as they come into work to check there's no accidents, and they're using data from Google to support them with that. They're doing their shopping online. They're getting all their clothes. They do their food shopping online, as well as their clothes. They're not going into estate agents anymore and asking for details of houses. They're doing it all online. And before they go and view a house, they're looking on Google Maps to see where it is and picking up that it's next door to a pig farm and wondering why it's been on the market for a year. We're controlling our homes through Alexa. My whole house is set up with Alexa. My children love nothing more than making an announcement in the morning to wake up everybody. We do everything online at home, and we turn our lights on at home. And some people apparently are dating online, but I don't know much about that. But anyway, this is the life that our employees are now in, and they're loving. And then they come to work, and we are hitting them with things like this, an onboarding checklist for new hires. It's just crazy. So you've got all these lovely millennials coming through, and they're used to all this digital stuff, and then we're giving them spreadsheets. And they're not used to this. They've never used it in their home lives before. So it's a real shock to the system. And if it's not spreadsheets of data, we ask them to spend 2 weeks trying to pull together headcount reports or some other kind of report that is a mishmash of 10 different spreadsheets that they've got to pull together. I know Amazon is not recording my orders on a spreadsheet before someone goes and gets it from the warehouse. We don't need to be doing this anymore. So this is the context within which we're working within. And it really doesn't have to be like this anymore. And there's lots of companies out there that aren't working like this anymore. So you'll have heard some of the buzzwords already, but for us in HR, we're talking very much about data analytics and machine learning and artificial learning, and there's some great software out there that's bringing all this stuff together to help us manage our employees. Robotic process automation, I don't know if you've heard that word today, but I'll talk a bit about that in a minute. But chatbots as well. We don't have HR teams answering queries in the private sector so much anymore. We've got chatbots doing it. They can answer the basic things like how much is my holiday entitlement or what's the sick policy. All that kind of stuff can be automated. And these are the things that we need to start getting familiar with if we're in our admin roles, in our HR roles, finance roles, because this is coming, it's not going away, and this is what people are expecting now. So a couple of quotes which I find quite interesting. Personnel Today, which is an HR magazine, 38% of enterprises are already using AI in their workplace. 62% are expecting to start using it as early as this year. And Hays Recruitment have recently done a study over the last couple of months of 14,000 different people in their database. 48% of them, as employees, think automation will allow them to add better value to their organisations. That's nearly half of the people surveyed. We're talking 7,000 people there are almost expecting this automation to come in to make their jobs better, or they know it can be better. It's a big number that we need to think about. And one of the great use cases for us is payroll. Every company has a payroll. The best way to disengage an employee is to not pay them. So payroll is the one place that you really need to get right. And RPA is a great way of doing that, and it's coming. So RPA, if you aren't aware, it's robotic process automation. And basically what this is, it's not a robot that actually comes and does your job, but you could effectively get some software that overlays your payroll software and runs it for you. So payroll is a perfect example. It's data in, it's a calculation, it's data out. There's no more complication than that. Yet we have hundreds of payroll managers all around the country spending weeks and weeks and weeks processing this stuff. It's just a simple calculation. And RPA, if we put software on top of that, could completely streamline that without any human interaction at all. So your payroll people can actually look at the data that's coming out of it, not process it. And RPA is great because, one, it doesn't ever make a mistake. It's rules in, data out. It's just whatever you code it to be. It doesn't ever resign. It doesn't take holiday. Doesn't need a desk to sit at. It will work 24/7. You can ask it to work on a Friday night so that you've got what you need on a Monday morning when you come in. It's so much quicker. It doesn't want to drink your tea, doesn't want any benefits, doesn't need training or any kind of induction, doesn't need programming skills. It just comes with it. It will help your compliance levels. So a lot of the issues of payroll is that there's a lot of manual keying and it's wrong. And from a GDPR point of view, less people touching that data, the better. And also RPA can sit on top of legacy systems, so it's not like implementing new technology. You don't need to change your payroll systems. It's very much sitting on top as an additional layer. But more importantly, it'll improve employee morale. So as well as RPA running the payroll, what it also allows you to do is run it in real time. So we're working with a company at the moment who's offering the first RPA-led payroll system, and effectively, you can check your payslip as an employee at any moment in time. It will tell you to the minute how much you've earned. So every time you log in, you can see it. And better still, in 3 months' time, they're going to launch pay on demand. So if your company allows it, you can choose when you get paid as well. And if you think about it, we get paid on the same cycle every single month or bi-weekly, whatever your system is. Why can't we just get paid when we want? It's crazy. And the reason for that is we've got a payroll person sat there having to type in timesheets, whatever else they need to do, and run it on a set date. If we've got technology doing that, we don't need that. You can get paid when you like. And to improve employee morale, there's no better way than allowing them to control their own money. We know financial issues can create a lot of mental health issues. If you can have more control over that, you're going to be a happier employee. And if you're a casual worker and someone says to you, will you work this afternoon on a Saturday afternoon, and they're thinking, well, I want to go out tonight, but actually I could get paid at the end of my shift, they're more likely to say yes, I'd say. So there's some really exciting stuff coming. And just some other things that are out there in the private sector. Clark AI, this is a system that will dial into your conference calls, take minutes, and email them to you at the end of the call. No more arguments about who's going to take the actions and who's going to write things down. Does it for you, and it's there in your inbox when you're finished. Google Smart Reply, I use this on a daily basis. If any of you use Google Mail, it actually writes your responses in your emails for you, so it uses artificial intelligence to read your email, and then as you type, it works out what you want to say, and it actually does work. And for me, it actually produces a better response than I could write myself, so it's really useful. VCV, this is a recruiting bot. What it will do, as a recruitment manager, you'll put in all the people that you're looking for and you've got vacancies for. It goes off into the World Wide Web, looks at different CVs, search engines, contacts people, speaks to them through voice recognition and asks them to record a video interview for 60-second long. So you as a recruiting manager, you can log what you're looking for, and within days you've got in your inbox a load of video interviews of relevant people. And it'll probably do a much better job than we could do as people. And Next.ai is a meeting scheduling software. So rather than you having to spend time trying to coordinate diaries, you can speak on your phone to some kind of app that will go and do it for you. So if you've forgotten to schedule something on the way out, you just ask Amy. She sorts it out ready for you when you come back in the office. Some really cool stuff out there, and we need to start keeping up to date with what's going on. And for us as a business, it's getting harder and harder, because 10 years ago, there'd be a list of 5 payroll systems we needed to know about. Now we've got hundreds of different cool apps coming on board, but it's really quite exciting. So what does this mean for the NHS? How can we use this? Onboarding. This is one of the biggest things that we can get value from. So when we go into the private sector, if you're doing a lot of recruiting, it can take a lot of time to get people in the door, all the relevant checks done, and actually get them doing the work. Time to production, we call it. If you've got stuff online, you can really speed up this process. So the majority of the private sector now, what they're doing, nothing is done on paper with onboarding people. They get a portal, they have to input all their data online, all their e-learning is coming to them through a portal. They know what they need to do. No one's interacting with them as a human. They just get their portal and they work through it. And it gets done quickly. And even better, they do it before they join, so they're not doing it in your time, and they're doing it on their own time. Onboarding is a real key one. Accurate information. You want people maintaining their own data. So if we're buying something online, we don't have to phone up someone if we change our bank details anymore or change our address. They want to manage it themselves, and people want to do this themselves, and you want them to do it themselves from a GDPR point of view. You don't want anyone touching their data. So they need to have access to systems that will allow them to do that. So they need to manage their own people data, but also it might be other data they need to enter, like timesheet data or anything else that is about them as an employee, booking holidays, that kind of thing. They need access to apps where they can do this themselves. And it's more real time. Workforce planning, this is a big one. So we're working with a big care home provider at the moment, implementing some software, and what they're doing is they're launching software that will allow people to manage their own shifts effectively. So they can put in their availability, and the system schedules everyone where it needs to be. But if they want to swap a shift, they can go on an app, say, I want to swap this shift, and anyone that's available and has said that they're available gets a notification to say, this shift's available, do you fancy swapping? And it can be done all through the app. No one needs to touch it. No office administrator needs to get involved in it. As long as people are sorting it out, the system does it for them. No paperwork. And it just allows people to actually be much better at managing their people. Instant salary payments, like I said, getting paid when you want to, not having to wait for your next pay run, making sure that it's correct. Automated people processes, so this is just across the board. If you think of all the admin you could probably cut down within your office environment of people admin, there's so much more time you could spend on patient care and innovation with all the other great stuff that we've heard about today. We don't want to be wasting time on those basic processes. And better data. We need better data, and data gives us decision making. And what we haven't been great at in the private sector or public sector is really getting to grips with our HR data. So it's really frustrating sometimes because we talk to lots of marketing teams and they're all about their data and working out who their customers are. And you think about Instagram, if you're a user, you get adverts on there all the time. It's using what you post and how old you are and whether you're married to send you the right information. And for us in HR, we've got all that data already, yet we don't do anything with it. We can use that to do better communication. We can be using that to prompt policies to go to people if we're worried about certain things, picking up trends of their behaviour if they've started to have time off sick. There's so much data in HR and our people that we're not using that we really need to start thinking about. And marketing would be so jealous if they had access to what we had access to. And of course, there's a money saving. Part of my business is to go in and help save money. So often we'll be asked to go in and they've got big HR teams and they want to cut down the number. Actually, you don't often cut heads, but what it means is the people that are already there can do the jobs they're supposed to be doing. Very rarely have you got slack in any of these admin teams. So actually there's a lot that gets missed. So it means that we can free up all that mundane work so that they can do a much better job doing other things. But here's the problem, where to start? And it is a real problem. There's a great Terry Pratchett quote here. If you don't know where you come from, then you don't know where you are. And if you don't know where you are, then you don't know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, you're probably going wrong. And this is completely true. We work with a lot of companies that come to us, and it is just such a minefield. They don't even know where to start with their transformation journeys. So it is something you need to really think about. And we try and support our clients with our digital HR maturity model. Too much words here for you to see, and hopefully you'll get a copy of the slides afterwards. But we've got a model that helps HR teams, and this will apply to any team or department really, work through where they need to get to. Starting with the immature, which is everything's on paper, you don't know who's managing your data, you don't have an owner for your data, and everything's discretionary, which means manual, and how you can get to predictive. So for us in the NHS, imagine if you had really up-to-date, spot-on, 100% people data, you could start mixing that with maybe weather data and see if there's any trends about what resource levels you might need in certain establishments, depending on if the weather's going to get worse. And you can just start doing things in a much more predictive way and actually start helping your teams to do some proactive stuff rather than being reactive. And we help our clients through this journey of how to get there. And for some companies, they can do this in 6 months, and some it's going to be 10 years. But it's having that roadmap and almost the goal in mind. So a few other things to think about. First of all, decide who will take ownership of your data. You need an owner of people data. GDPR insists upon it, but you absolutely must have it. You need to know what data you're collecting and who owns it. And is it HR or is it IT? Doesn't really matter, just someone needs to own it, and it needs to be clear. Inaccurate data can help nobody. Get some cross-business buy-in. So for you and your people teams, it's great, you can go get so far, but actually people processes aren't just within HR teams anymore or within your office teams. You need to involve IT, finance, all the other guys that are feeding into that. Make sure you're working together when you're looking at your processes. Don't do things in silos, it just won't work. Map out your processes across every department. This is such an easy one. Customers come to us and they say, we don't know where to start. Start here. I know I could go into any single department and sit for a day and probably save them £10,000 just by saying, why do you do that? It's just such an easy thing to do. And if you have someone from outside of that team to look at things, they'll be able to pick up some quick wins. And addressing technical debt. So this is one of the problems we've got. You need people that are tech savvy, that are asking the questions. I was really lucky. My first HR job, I was working with Suffolk County Council, and they started a joint venture with BT. So my very first HR job, I was asked to reduce the HR team by 150 employees. So I've been drummed into me to look at processes and make sure that we're questioning the way we're doing things, so it comes second nature to me. But actually it's quite a skill that a lot of people don't have. And you need to think about where you're going to get that skill from. From us in our HR teams, the CIPD, who's our professional body, they don't support this. It's not something that people know about, so they need to get up to speed. But we also need to find those innovators within the business and help bring them in. Sometimes they might not be in HR, or they might not be a current office administrator. You might need to bring these people in, but think about how you're going to get that skill. Your people teams are going to need data experts. So if you haven't got it already, you need to start thinking about it. And you can't automate if you haven't got data 100%. And look outside of HR to learn from other digital adopters. So like you've asked to hear about what's happening in the private sector and what's possible, look at all the other teams and see what they're doing. You can learn so much from other people. For us as a consultancy, we're now looking at the US to see what they're doing and how far ahead they are. It's just learning from lots of different places and doing lots of reading as well about what's possible. But if nothing else, just pick up some quick wins. Like I said, if you look at your processes, there'll be some quick wins. When you're looking at your onboarding processes or people that are leaving, look at how you manage that. There will be some tweaks you can make there to improve things. And someone else said it doesn't necessarily mean massive technology that has to come in to do innovation. Sometimes innovation might be tweaking a manual process, but there will be some ways that you can make things better. And obviously the goal at the end of it is to make it better for your employees, so that they have a better experience, and ultimately they'll then want to stay with you, and then it's going to be better all round. More options for patient care, you're not wasting money on people leaving. Just think of the quick things as well as the bigger things if you can. And once you start drip feeding, people will start thinking in the right way, and then they'll start coming up with their own ideas. But you've just got to start somewhere. That's me. Whistle stop tour, I hope that's all right.